Welcome to Malifaux University. 633. Special Terrain Rule, Snow Much Mayhem. While Malifaux is played around the world, and thousands of players live in climates that do not enjoy the blessing of snow in December, if ever, snow is still popularly associated with the Christmas holiday season. In 2022, Wyrd released Snow Much Mayhem, a special terrain piece with Waldo ready to throw a snowball from behind a snowman. If you don't have this fun piece, you should look around and grab a few for your table. The complete text of the rules associated with this festive terrain piece is available at the link in the notes below. Before the game, you need the Waldo Snow Much Mayhem terrain piece. It goes on a 50mm base and is pre-assembled, but of course you'll want to paint it before you put it on the table. In a pinch, any 50mm base will do, especially since you may want to use more than one. For real fun, see how many Waldo models you can get. The Bah Humbug Waldo, where he's stuck in a chimney, Grumpus Waldo, and a Bah Humrug Waldo will make your playing table even more festive. In any case, since this is a completely optional rule, you can play with as many Snow Much Mayhem Waldos as you want, though one per table quarter is probably as many as you should have. Snow Much Mayhem Waldos are Height 2, blocking, and impassable terrain pieces, but there are two significant exceptions to the usual rules. First, the Whack-a-Waldo Rule says models may target this piece of terrain with the Slam general action, as if Snow Much Mayhem were an impassable marker. Slam has a range of 1 inch and lets the model taking the action place this Snow Much Mayhem somewhere else within an inch of the model, usually on another side of the model and out of the way. Any other action or ability that refers to markers or terrain markers does not affect the Snow Much Mayhem Waldos. In all other ways, they count as impassable terrain on the table. Impassable means models cannot move through them unless the model has the incorporeal ability, flight, or something similar. You also cannot overlap the base of a model or other marker with these impassable pieces of terrain. Height and blocking means that they block line of sight for any model size 2 or shorter that draws line of sight through the marker. This also creates a shadow of 2 inches around the marker, which provides cover to any model within the shadow when another model can successfully target that model with a projectile attack. Other non-melee ranged attacks are not affected though. Cover adds +1 to the defense trait of the targeted model and imposes a negative modifier on any damage flips resulting from the projectile attack. With that said, the other rule-breaking rule for Snow Much Mayhem is called Walkin in a Winter Waldoland. This rule says models may move through the terrain piece, but may not stop on it or overlap bases with it. So it's impassable and blocking when drawing line of sight, but you can actually move through it as long as you move all the way through it. This applies to all forms of movement, pushes, charges, you name it. Additionally, when a model within 2 inches and line of sight of a Snow Much Mayhem piece declares the walk action and moves through the Snow Much Mayhem or a scheme marker, that model may place the Snow Much Mayhem or the scheme marker into base contact with the model when it finishes the walk action. Keep in mind this placement of the Waldo or the scheme marker doesn't apply when the model places, unburies, charges, pushes, or uses other forms of movement. Just walking counts. Snow Much Mayhem comes with one more rule related to scoring victory points, and a fourth optional rule to play with if you're feeling particularly festive. Discuss this with your opponent to see how you want to play. This can be a fun way for beginning players to add a little flavor to an encounter using the core rules, or for experienced players to put a spin on the gaining grounds encounters that might be getting predictable. But whether you play the regular version or the Holiday Spirit version, make sure you agree beforehand when you're setting up the table. The third rule that goes with Snow Much Mayhem takes place in the end phase. After both players score their victory points, if one of them has fewer victory points than the other, the player who is behind can place any one Snow Much Mayhem piece on the playing area anywhere else on the playing area, as long as it's at least 2 inches away from other impassable terrain, which still allows for a model on a 50mm base to pass through. The fourth and optional rule, if you choose to use it, is called Snow More Mr. Nice Imp, and takes place at the beginning of the crew leader's activations. Not necessarily any master's or henchman's activation, but the leader of each crew. When a crew leader activates, it may remove a single scheme marker that is within 2 inches and line of sight of any Snow Much Mayhem. If it does so, all models within 2 inches and line of sight of that Snow Much Mayhem gain the Distracted +1 condition. The leader can be anywhere on the table and choose any Snow Much Mayhem piece anywhere on the table. Also note that this effect can remove either a friendly or an enemy scheme marker, but the Distracted condition is given to all models within 2 inches and line of sight of the Snow Much Mayhem, friendly and enemy alike. Let's see this in action. Rasputina's December crew, naturally, is facing off against Bo Peep's Bayou crew. Both players agreed before the game to put 4 Snow Much Mayhem Waldos on the table with all rules in effect. Each player sets out 2 Snow Much Mayhem Waldos. They both play their games according to the strategy and schemes they've chosen. In order to keep some protection between himself and the Silent Ones with their 8-inch Ice Blast attacks, Stumpy walks through the Snow Much Mayhem in their table quarter twice, each time taking advantage of the Walkin in a Winter Waldoland rule to place the terrain piece in base contact between them and the Silent Ones. The Silent Ones easily outwit the Bark Brain jockey. One moves close to the Snow Much Mayhem Waldo and uses Slam to relocate it. When the second activates, she uses the Ice Blast attack Stumpy was so concerned about. Between the triggers increasing the damage and allowing the Silent One to hit Stumpy with it a 3rd time, the Bayou jockey pair soon meets their end. There are no victory points in the first turn, and at the end of the second turn, both crews have 1 victory point, so they don't get to move a Waldo then. By the end of the 3rd turn, however, the December crew has pulled ahead with 3 victory points to the Bayou crew's 2. The Bayou player now gets to reposition a single Snow Much Mayhem. He puts it here, keeping it at least 2 inches away from other impassable terrain, which includes the other Snow Much Mayhem Waldos themselves. Going into turn 3, this Snow Much Mayhem Waldo is now conveniently close to an Arcanist scheme marker, 2 Horcats, and a Hog Whisperer. The Bayou player activates Bo Peep, his crew leader, right away to implement the Snowmore Mr. Nice Imp rule. He removes the Arcanist scheme marker from near the Snow Much Mayhem, giving both Horcats and the Hog Whisperer Distracted +1. Bo Peep then goes off to finish her activation. Figuring the Bayou player has a reason for having a scheme marker near this building, the December player activates one of the Horcats and declares the Walk action. The Horcat walks through the Bayou scheme marker, and since it started the walk within 2 inches of the Snow Much Mayhem, it gets to apply the Walkin in the Winter Waldoland rule and place the scheme marker into base contact with itself when it finishes the walk. In fact, since the Horcat is now within 2 inches of another Snow Much Mayhem Waldo, it does it again, just for fun, putting the scheme marker out here in the middle of the Bayou deployment zone. There's no telling how the rest of the game will go, but let us know in the comments below how your game with Snow Much Mayhem turns out. That's the special terrain rules, Snow Much Mayhem. Pick up a printable set of all the markers and tokens you need to play Malifaux in the Wargames Vault. If you haven't already, join our Patreon for early, ad-free access to all new content, and be sure to visit the Malifaux University gift shop for the latest in Malifaux-themed shirts, hoodies, drinkware, and more. Links are in the notes below. And remember, play friendly games, keep it simple, and have fun.